Hi there, and welcome back to the Energy Sector Heroes podcast. My name is Michelle Fraser, and every week I will speak with incredible people who share their lessons, experiences, and stories from their time spent in the energy sector. Hi there, and welcome back again to this week's episode. If you're new to the show, then please take a second to subscribe and even consider sharing the show with just one other person. This week, I am joined by Darren Sutherland. Darren is an incredible Vice President at Borr Drilling. Darren, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, certainly. So, like you said, Darren Sutherland. I'm currently the Vice President for Borr Drilling, looking after Europe and Africa. And I also serve as the chairman of the IEDC, which is the International Association of Drilling Contractors in the North Sea region.
Wow, really? I didn't know that, actually. How did you get involved with that?
With the IEDC?
Yeah.
It's something I've been involved in for many years. I have served as chairman previously, and usually it's part of the role that the head of the drilling company in Aberdeen. So whether you're with Borr, Valaris, or Noble, any of the drilling contractors, an expectation that you participate in this industry body to help improve and advance the drilling sector in the North Sea region.
Okay, that's interesting. So do you get a lot of new recruits every year then?
We have primary members, which consist of the drilling contractors, but we are increasing the number of associate members that join the trade organisations. So we have a lot of service companies that come along, and we run meet and greets twice a year to encourage networking. And then we have some working groups that the various members can participate in related to HR, training, competence, HSE, etc.
Okay, because I was going to ask you, what is the benefits of joining that institution?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess one of the benefits, some of the projects I'm working on right now within IEDC, we are representing our portion of the industry in front of governments in both Holyrood and in Westminster, working towards improving the market conditions here, because obviously, as you're probably aware, the government taxation scheme that's in place right now, EPL2, is causing quite a significant impact in the investment in the region, which flows down to ourselves, because if the oil companies aren't investing in the North Sea, they're not drilling wells. If they're not drilling wells, then it means our rigs get stacked. So we've been working to try and lobby government to change their approach. The other major project that we're working on is a industry charter for mental health. We held an event last month at the Chester Hotel where we had over 200 representatives from across industry pulled together to discuss the issues of mental health in our sector. And we're forming a charter to try and move forward, try and create momentum within industry to affect cultural change on how we view mental health and how we deal with it, with the overall aim of improving conditions for employees in the sector.
Okay, that is a really good and worthy cause. So what was some of the major lessons learned that came out from that initiative?
I think there's lots of lessons learned, but the kind of key things that came out to me was that there's a lot of good work going on in pockets across the sector. And as an industry, we've always been very successful when we join together as an industry to develop either joint practices or working standards that everybody can adhere to. And that's something that the North Sea sector we've been very good at, and actually has resulted in lots of good industry practices being rolled out across the globe. If you look at step change in safety, time out for safety, the drops campaign, the UK safety case regime, for example, is something that's been adopted to a certain extent across the globe as well. So that was one of the key things for me, was that coming together, and there was a definite feeling of a desire to come together as industry in the room that we'll be pushing as we move forward with this charter. The other kind of key thing for me was that there's obviously a lot of third sector help available, and they were very keen, and they were very quite vocal about their desire to join industry in this mental health campaign that we're pushing.
Okay. No, because mental health is quite a big thing in the energy sector, probably in other sectors as well, just now.
Yes, it is indeed. I mean, we're focusing on it from a energy sector side, but I think the truth of the matter is that mental health it's not just an energy sector issue. It's a global issue. Although we do have some very specific challenges within oil and gas, and obviously we hope to try and address that with what we're doing.
No, that sounds amazing, actually. So, how did you actually get started in the energy sector?
Well, I'm entering my 30th year now in the sector. So I grew up in a small seaside village in the north of Scotland, not too far from Invergordon, where they used to bring the rigs in when they were getting worked on and getting stacked, and very close to Nig, where they used to build most of the platforms for the North Sea. So I've been in and around the sector since a young boy. And when it came time to leave school, I stumbled upon a prospectus from Heriot-Watt University for a course in offshore mechanical engineering, which just I was thoroughly attracted to. So that's what I did. I left school and went to Heriot-Watt, studied offshore mechanical engineering, and from there joined the drilling industry with Santa Fe back in 1994.
Okay. So, why did you pick mechanical engineering over the different types of engineering to do? What attracted you to it?
I think I've always liked tinkering with things. My mum was always getting on to me because I was taking TVs and stuff apart when I was a young child. So I think I've always had a bit of a mechanical mind. But I think, going to school every day on the bus and seeing these huge structures and all the equipment that went along with it was something that really attracted me. I also did work on farms and around mechanical equipment. So mechanical is always something that I've had an interest in. The offshore aspect was just a completely different challenge, though. Not only being able to design mechanical equipment, but to put it to work in some of the most challenging environments in the world was something that sparked my interest and attracted me to the offshore industry.
Okay, that sounds amazing. So, have you had any role models within your career, and why did you find them inspirational?
I've had quite a few role models. I've been very fortunate. I've had several mentors who've helped me through my career and kind of guided me. I guess my first mentor was a guy called Danny McAleese, who was a senior tool pusher on my first rig. And what Danny did with me, Danny pushed me to kind of go beyond learning just the basics. So my early career was as a trainee drilling engineer, which meant I spent 3 weeks offshore as a rig crew member, roustabout, roughneck, etc. 2 weeks in the office as an engineer and a week off. And when I was offshore, you did a lot of manual labor work, but Danny was always pushing me to learn more. So if I was working with a boat and we were taking tubulars off the boat, it wasn't a case of just do the mechanical operation. He would always push me, say, what type of tubular is it? What size, what shape, what weight? Why do we use that particular tubular? And he was very keen on pushing learning greater knowledge, or sorry, obtaining greater knowledge rather than just going through a process of basic learning. And he was always keen to give me additional projects above and beyond what I was doing during my 12-hour shift. So he would have me come up to the office and work on time analysis or looking at equipment failure. So he was a great inspiration, and that was something that I learned from an early day, is that you need to be constantly learning. You can't just do the minimum. If you want to get ahead and succeed, you've got to put in a little bit more effort than just the base level. So he was great for that.
Okay, that sounds like great advice, actually. How do you go above and beyond what your job actually wants you to do? Is there any tips that you can share about how you would go about doing that?
Look, I think you have to be passionate about what you're doing, because you're going to have to start looking at, so starting out as a young mechanical engineer, it'd be very easy just to focus in on mechanical engineering. But what I've always tried to do is take a step back and look at the bigger picture beyond just mechanical engineering at the time. Looking at, okay, the well development, the field development, the operator involved. And then you start stepping even further back and looking at the overall industry and learning about the overall industry, what makes it tick, what influences the decisions that are made. So I think it's always good to learn to take a big picture view on things and read as much as you can about what it is that you're doing. It sounds a bit trivial, but I think it's learning and always trying to expand your knowledge is one of the key things that helps you kind of go above and beyond in specific roles. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does actually. It does. So what is the most challenging thing about your current role then?
Challenging thing about the current role. So the role I hold, I'm not so much involved in the technical aspects of the business anymore. And most of my time is spent dealing with people and people issues. And I think that's something that certainly back in the day, we didn't do a very good job at training within the universities is the people skills. And people refer to them as the soft skills. I would actually categorize them as the hard skills because I find it's very difficult to learn to manage people appropriately. Learning skills such as empathy, emotional intelligence, communication. Communication is something that we all do, but to do it properly and to be able to communicate clearly and concisely to people at different levels within an organization and from potentially different cultures and different languages is something that's a real challenge. But as you go further up the chain of command, it's something that becomes more and more important is the ability to handle and manage people in an appropriate manner.
Okay, so how do you go about ensuring that you're effectively communicating properly?
Great question. Practice. Lots of practice. I have taken courses. I did a master's degree about 10 years ago, and I chose to take on one of the modules in public speaking, communication. So learning how to communicate, again, reading about emotional intelligence, learning about myself, what makes myself tick, how I think. Because if I know how I think and how I process things, then it helps me to communicate as clearly as possible. So again, it's something that comes with practice, but you've got to choose to practice it because I find that in a lot of places we don't actually sit down and teach our employees communication skills or listening skills. I mean, listening is a big part of communication, right? You need to understand the message that you're being told. And if you don't understand it, you need to realize that you need to ask questions to make sure you're clear. But again, it's just practicing those skills and if you aren't being taught it, then take the time to learn about it. There's plenty of good information on the internet these days.
Yeah, there is, because I think of the learning how to communicate effectively. It's quite hard, actually. It's not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not. And I think, like I said, I've been in industry 30 years and even now I still have challenges making sure that I'm clear and that I'm understanding correctly as well. So yeah, it takes time and it takes practice, but it's a key skill, especially if you would like to be a senior manager one day and hold a level of responsibility.
Okay, that's excellent advice, actually. So because you're now a senior manager and you used to be on the tools before, do you miss being hands-on or do you not so much prefer doing the management route?
I think it's just different phases in life. I will be honest. I was on a rig last week here in the North Sea, and yeah, a lot of memories come back just with the smells and the sounds that you experience when you're offshore, and brings back a lot of memories of working on rigs. And I thoroughly enjoyed my time there. But I think as you grow within your career and as you seek, if you're seeking new challenges, then you still have fond memories of the time on the tools, but I do thoroughly enjoy what I'm doing right now. It's different challenges, like I say, and it's different skills that I'm learning, and I enjoy learning constantly. So yeah, whilst I miss it, I'm glad I'm doing what I'm doing now.
So was it a conscious decision to travel, go up the career ladder to the level that you are just now? Is it something that you always wanted to do?
Yes, it has been something I've always wanted to do. I think when I experienced my first downturn back in around about 2000, I mean, I've been working predominantly in the area of operations and engineering, and then seeing just the nature of the business and just nature of the world in general, I realized very quickly that I needed to expand my skill set beyond just the pure technical skills. And at that point, I made a decision that I wanted to do my best in industry, but do my best for myself and see how far I could get on the career ladder. And I've been very fortunate to have had a lot of great opportunities put in front of me, which I've taken on and been able to do well at, and that's got me where I am today. So yeah, it was a conscious decision. I think it's look, you decide very early on in your career what you want to do, and some people choose to follow the management route, others choose to be technical experts, and that's a great career as well. So I don't think there's a right or wrong path. It's just what is it that excites you and motivates you to get out of bed in the morning.
Okay. Did you ever find that when you were presented with a new opportunity that you were maybe hesitant or maybe, a bit apprehensive about the challenge ahead before you accepted to start the new challenge that you were offered?
Yeah, absolutely. I think any time change is involved in your career or in your life, there's always apprehension and maybe some anxiety as well. But what I've learned over the years, and the benefit of having some really good mentors, is that this anxiety and apprehension about taking on a new role or moving to a new country or moving to a new organization, everybody has that. It just comes down to how you manage it yourself. I think it's okay. It's okay to be apprehensive about a new role or a new company. It's just part of life. It's almost it's fear of the unknown, right? But I've learned over the years to embrace that fear or that anxiety and harness it and use it to motivate me to tackle the new challenge. So I think it's something that can be expected anyway. That's moving or changing.
No, I agree, actually. I do agree. So, is there anything that you still want to achieve in your career?
I think I would like to continue growing within the industry. I'd like to see, could I make it to CEO level? I think I'd like to continue to try and pursue that option. I've had a very full career. I've traveled to all of the continents. I've visited. I'm up to about 68 countries I've visited now with my job. I've met a lot of incredible people, experienced a lot of incredible things. So, I'm like to continue to grow, but like I say, I've had a very fulfilling career till now. So, yeah, let's see what the future brings.
Yeah. So, do you think working abroad has helped your career?
Definitely. It definitely has. I think the technical aspects are the same. There's some different challenges, but drilling is drilling. What I've learned from working overseas is how to understand different cultures, how to do business in different countries. That brings lots of complexity with it. So it's expanded my skill set for sure. And like I say, the key one for me is being able to deal with different cultures, because at the end of the day, it's people that's behind a lot of what we do. And a key aspect of being successful is being able to understand how other people think in different parts of the world, whether it's through their language, through their national culture, whether it's through their religion, whatever. It's really important to understand these things so that you can get the most from your teams and give the most back to your teams as well.
Okay. Did you ever find, because I've worked abroad myself quite a lot, do you ever find that you pick up new skills on how to engineer different? Or do you find that in the drilling industry that everything's more or less done the same way?
Look, there's a lot of standardization just because of the nature of the business. We have some very high safety standards, and generally wherever you go, it's the same safety standards, so the processes are the same. But yeah, there's definitely different techniques and different skills that you learn. I've been in the mouth of the Orinoco Delta in Venezuela, where you've had 8 foot of water and very high currents, lots of different challenges there. And then I've been obviously here in the North Sea and been up on the Magnus platform, the very north of the North Sea. It's you've had 100-year storms and howling winds and completely different challenges. So yeah, you definitely do learn different skills on how to operate. The technical and engineering side might be pretty much the same, but in terms of operations, you will have different challenges, logistical challenges, which is always a lot of fun. How do you get equipment into a jungle or the desert versus the middle of the North Sea or the Mediterranean, for example?
Okay, interesting. Have you ever encountered any career disasters, and how have you handled them?
Career disasters. Think of many career disasters. I've had some serious challenges technically where things have gone wrong, where I've dropped drill pipe down a hole without having any safeguards in place. That was very early on in my career. I think I've been quite fortunate not to have had many career disasters. A lot of career challenges. If I've been with organizations that have been bought and sold, which has resulted in me in becoming redundant, for example, which I wouldn't say is a disaster, but it's definitely something that's difficult and present you with some challenges. And how I've handled that is just gone out and learned more skills. And I think if I can give one piece of advice to anybody looking to come into industry or any young folks coming out of school, is learn as many skills as you can, have as many strings to your bow as possible. That allows you then to transfer from one industry to another, or one job type to another. So for example, when I was made redundant in around about 2014, I went from drilling to work for a services company that did hydraulic products and hydraulic hoses and fittings, hydraulic systems. So it's completely different to drilling. But because I'd learned the skills of business development, sales and marketing, contracts, as well as being a drilling engineer, I could transfer into that particular role with relative ease. Obviously, I had to learn sector expertise, but the fact that I could do business development work and contracts helped me to make a change into a completely different sector from where I'd been previously. So learning as many skills as possible, I think, helps smooth out any issues like that.
Okay. That leads on to my next question, actually. In your opinion, what makes an outstanding hire if you were going to hire a graduate or a senior?
When I am recruiting for people, I am looking for attitude. We have the ability to train and to help people skill up. I mean, I can teach people to do whatever they need to do for the job we hire them for, but I'm looking for the right attitude, the right approach, people who really want to be part of our business or to do the job, the role that we're offering. Because I think with the right attitude and the right approach, you can overcome technical aspects, the challenges of a new job, a new industry. So definitely the folks who've got the right attitude, a can do, want to do attitude is what I look for from hiring people.
Okay. And how do you know if that person's got that type of attitude?
During the interview process, I tend not to focus on the technical aspects. By the time they're sitting in front of me, they've already been screened for, do they have the ability to learn and to do the technical side of things. So my conversation tends to be around the individual themselves and who they are, what they're looking for in life. So I think over the years of doing that many times, almost a gut instinct, a feel, you know immediately when somebody's nervous or where somebody's lying or when somebody's genuinely excited about a job. So I've learned over the years to kind of filter that. But somebody who's coming in, who's got the right attitude will come in. They'll be prepared. They know who they're coming in to speak to. They know the business. They know what they want. Maybe they've got some vision about where they'd like to go. And sometimes people are just quite honest and say, look, I don't really know what it's going to look like, but I'm really keen to be here. And that's also a good thing. Saying you don't know is also a good quality.
Okay. When you're hiring somebody, do you normally typically have 2 interviews, 3 interviews?
It really depends on the role. Usually we have an initial HR screening, and that's where, we'll look at their CV or their educational background. And then we will generally do the psychometric testing just to see the individual's personality type and their ability to handle simple mathematical and grammatical questions. And then if it's a very technical specific role, they'll probably get interviewed by a subject matter expert, so whether that be the technical superintendent, the HSE manager, or the HR department, before they would then probably come on to me for a kind of final assessment. That's generally how we do it here at Borr, but that's how I've done it in the past as well.
Okay. It's quite a thorough interviewing process.
It is very thorough, and what we found is it's turned out to be very effective. At Borr, we have quite a lean operation, and we tend to Well, we always look to hire the best people we can, and this thorough interview process kind of helps to ensure that we get people with, like I say, with the right attitude, drive, and desire, and the right technical capabilities, and also the right personality for what we're going to put them into. Because the drilling industry, like a lot of industry, isn't for everybody, and it brings a lot of challenges, and it can be a lot of hard work at times. And as long as people are aware of that coming in, then they'll be successful.
Why do you think that the drilling industry is not for everybody then?
When you come into operations within the drilling industry, we're definitely a 24/7, 365 business. And within operations, it's not uncommon that you're getting woken up at 2, 3 in the morning to deal with equipment failures. Unfortunately, occasionally you need to deal with either people taking sick or having to come home uncompassionate, or thankfully, very rarely these days, people getting injured. So that kind of constant on-call lifestyle is not something that everybody is up for. And sometimes it can be very fast-paced as well, and requires a lot of on-the-spot decision-making and responsibility. So if that's something that appeals, then you'll love it. But if not, then it's definitely not like I said, it's not for everyone.
Okay, so what typically, you were mentioning before that it can be quite challenging working in the drilling industry. What are the major challenges that you can come up and face?
Predominantly, depending on the level of the industry you're in. I mean, so if you're working on a rig, then the challenges you face is exposure to the climate. So whether you're in the heat of the Middle East, or whether you're in the cold of the North Sea, that's a challenge for people. You're working 12-hour shifts or 21 or 28 days at a time, which can be quite demanding physically. And then obviously the work itself offshore can be labor intensive. You have to be focused all the time. So those are all challenges. And then when you have an equipment issue, when the rig goes on to what we call downtime, then we have to work very quickly to get the equipment repaired and back online for reasons of either safety or operational efficiency. And as you're probably aware, within the drilling industry, we can command quite high day rates for our rigs. So literally seconds lost become hundreds or thousands of dollars lost per second. So you have to be able to get equipment back online, and that brings with it its own challenges. And then when you're shore based, obviously having to deal with those issues as well, but then having to deal with people having to provide a good service to your client, who sometimes can be very demanding. It all different challenges that you can be faced with, as well as the day-to-day burden of running what can be a high value business.
Okay, so you have to really be good at troubleshooting as well as concentrating on the drilling aspects.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I love about our particular industry is a lot of the problems sound like the same, but there's always a quirk. We've got some great people that work in the industry who are fantastic at troubleshooting. And troubleshooting itself is a great skill to learn, because, like I said, it's something you could quite easily transfer to elsewhere. Yeah, being good at troubleshooting, thinking on your feet, is definitely something that we look for.
Do you think being a good troubleshooter is something that you can learn, or do you really think that you would have to have the aptitude to do that?
I think it's definitely something you can learn. Yes, for sure. There's people who are naturally more talented in that area, but I think we can all learn troubleshooting. We do it all the time. And again, it's just one of these things with practice. You start to learn the techniques of getting to the root cause of a problem and then coming up with solutions. It takes practice. You don't learn it all. You certainly don't learn it all from a textbook. You need to be put in at the deep end, shall we say, and that's when you really start to learn quite quickly how to resolve issues.
Do you think it's quite important as an engineer to go offshore or on site to view what you are designing or maintaining, rather than staying in the office all the time?
Personal opinion is yes. I think it's always good that you have or have had some kind of hands-on experience. We have seen equipment come offshore, and you think, how did they come up with this design? It doesn't work. So I think there's definitely a lot to be gained by getting out and looking at the environment and really understanding it. So yeah, I definitely think there's advantage to those guys that are getting out into the field and getting on the tools if they can, or even just standing and watching what's going on. That's for me definitely an advantage.
I truly actually agree with your last reply. I think it's important that you get offshore or on site. Because sometimes you can design something, but how it's designed might not even be how it is in reality. It might not work.
Correct.
I do believe that, actually. What keeps you motivated when things get tough?
What keeps me motivated? I get an incredible amount of support from my family. They keep me motivated when times are down. I've got a good network of people that are around me and support me. So I think having that network is something that helps with the motivation levels. Also having either colleagues or a mentor to talk things through is always good, because what I've found is that a lot of the challenges, a lot of the issues you face, and when you get to a moment of feeling down, you're not the first person to feel that way, and there is a way out, there is a solution, and things will come right. So I think having the people around me, and I've had some fantastic people around me in my career who've really helped me through challenging and difficult times, but definitely having the support of my family has been a huge one.
No, I agree. Family is important. So what advice would you give anybody, any young graduates that are looking to come into the drilling industry?
Look, I would highly recommend it. It's if you come in with the right attitude and you've got a desire to learn, to grow, particularly to travel, I think there's incredible opportunities out there. The drilling industry is fast paced. There's lots of challenges, and you can learn some incredible skills that are, in my opinion, transferable to other industries quite easily if that's what you decide to do in the future. But I've had a great 30 years in industry. Like I say, I've traveled extensively. I've met some absolutely incredible, just beautiful people across the entire globe who I still call friends to this day. And I think that's something that is in the drilling sector that we offer. The fact that drilling rigs are mobile and do get moved around the world on a regular basis allows that to happen. But you need to be prepared that it can be difficult, it can be challenging, and maybe it's not as sexy as rocket science or the stuff at Tesla, but it's all valuable and good engineering, and it's a very important role that we play.
I agree. Actually, it is. The drillers are quite important. Actually, touching on the fact that you were saying it wasn't maybe quite as sexy as maybe other engineering positions. Being on the drill floor, it's quite tough. Actually, isn't it? It's quite a tough job.
Yeah, it is. It is a tough job. Thanks to advances in technology over the years, it has become easier. But the process of drilling is very, I don't want to say agricultural, but it's very mechanical in nature. You're essentially taking a piece of heavy steel and grinding up rock to make a hole in the ground, and then you're casing it with steel pipe and bringing in production. But it's difficult, and we operate under very strict safety procedures. But it can be a very dangerous job as well, as we've seen in the past. And obviously, we work daily to ensure that we never see the likes of Macondo or Piper Alpha again. But yeah, it can be very difficult. But I think that's part of the attraction for me, is that it is a challenge. It is, it can be on the edge of dangerous, and I think that's something that excites me and excites quite a lot of the guys in the industry. Is that kind of, you're out there, especially if you're in the middle of the North Sea in the middle of winter, and it's dark and it's 70, 80 mile an hour winds and 15-meter waves. There's something quite exciting about that. Or maybe I'm just weird.
I was going to ask you, actually, when you were drilling, you must have been there when they finally hot oil. How does that even feel?
It's not like you see on some of these movies where there's oil gushing out everywhere.
Yeah, I was thinking it would be, but maybe I'm just fantasizing.
No, we keep everything under control, and actually we don't physically see any oil coming back in any sizable quantities. Everything is kept under control by the use of the drilling mud and then casing. And then we put the completion equipment in the well before we perforate it to bring the oil online, and it goes straight into the production train from there. So yeah, you don't get to see that Bruce Willis style oil gushing out all over the rig floor, unfortunately, or fortunately rather. But it's always good, and we don't do it as much as we used to in the old days, primarily for environmental concerns. Is when in a lot of the older days when we were having some of the big finds, they would do a well test, and you'd see the flare burning some of the excess gas and hydrocarbons that came to surface. That was always a sight to behold. Yeah, we don't do that anymore. It's clearly not great for the environment.
No, it's not. Thanks for answering that question, actually. That was quite insightful, actually. It's not how I thought it was going to be. So, if you could turn back time, would you change anything?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't change anything. I've learned an incredible amount, and like I say, the industry's been good to me in terms of what I've been able to see and experience in the world. If it wasn't for the oil industry and joining the Santa Fe back when I did, I would never have met my wife in Venezuela. I wouldn't have had all the experiences I've had. So no, wouldn't change a thing.
Okay, that's really good to hear. Okay, so that's all the questions I have today. I would like to thank Darren for your time. It was really appreciated, actually. So that brings us to the end of another episode. Thanks for listening, and see you next week. That brings us to the end of another episode. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, I'd like to gently encourage you to leave a 5-star rating wherever you listen to podcasts, and share the show with another person. You can also follow me on LinkedIn or via my website, www.michellefraserconsultancy.com. Thanks again for listening, and see you next week.